As I was lifting in the gym, I had an amazing idea of making a YouTube video and explaining 10 of the most valuable lessons and mistakes that I made in building a 7-figure company at a very early age when I was 24, living a very rich and lavish lifestyle for 3 years, first-class flights, dating models, traveling around the world, penthouses, fast cars, like partying, going out, absolutely fucking insane, to then losing it, hitting rock bottom and destroying everything due to self-sabotaging behavior. Because even though I had built a successful business, I hadn't built the man that was capable of holding that success. I didn't have character traits like self-control, discipline. I couldn't really control my temptation or my lust. And, you know, slowly but surely, I eventually crashed down my life, broke down my life that I'd built over the course of the last, 4 or 5 years. I built a successful company. If you want to see the full story, by the way, I've got another video on that. I'm not going to repeat myself every time. I'll link it somewhere here in the corner. But now that I've been through a lot of work, a lot of process, I've done a lot of work on myself in the sense of just figuring out my identity, figuring out like how can I become the best version of myself? What happened here? How can I change that? And I completely rewired, reinvented the way that I live, the way that I act, the way that I see things, the way that I wake up every single day. I wake up every single day in a new reality, right? Because I've rewired my entire identity and I've started to build the man instead of building the business. And that has brought me so much peace, so much joy. But now that I've done all of that stuff, in retrospect, I'm able to look back at the things that have happened and really hone in on a couple of things that I think would help you. So especially like I had a business in the info space. I had a coaching program. And I noticed this with so many guys in the info space as well. And I've specifically made this list for guys, for I guess young entrepreneurs, young male entrepreneurs who are successful, but who seem to struggle with a lot of things. We seem to struggle with dealing with that success and all those kind of things. So let's dive in. The first lesson that I wrote down is trust your gut. Because in your journey as an entrepreneur, there's going to be moments where you really have to trust your gut. You cannot analyze certain situations. And when you have to trust your gut, it's mostly when it comes to people. So especially a lot of young entrepreneurs, they don't necessarily want to start stuff alone. So they usually start things with a friend or people that they think are a friend. I did the same thing. And, I had a really good friendship. I had a really good partner. But, I always also had kind of a gut feeling about certain things. And I always neglected that because, it's who I was. I was, I didn't understand my own values good enough to understand that I wasn't supposed to be with certain people. So trusting your gut is something that you should always do, because when you are in business with people, or when you have friends, for example, partnerships, and you feel like something is off, even though it might not happen now, or maybe in the next 6 months, or maybe even in the next 1 or 2 years, eventually something will happen which is not going to benefit you. Eventually people are going to fuck you over. Things are going to happen that you don't want to happen. And if I look back now, I knew all of these things. Like the things that have happened, I'm not going to dive too deep into those things, but it didn't come as a surprise, because I knew all along. So what I learned now is that I'm very, very, very fucking strict with who I let into my life and whose life I step into as well, because it's a two-way street. If something doesn't add up, it's just a hard no. It is just a hard fucking no. And I'll promise you, even though it's sometimes a very hard decision to make, you won't lose anything, all right? So trust your gut, understand your own values. Like if you're not sure about something, just take some time to dive into that and really ask yourself, why do I have this feeling? What is it really? And then just make that hard decision. I promise you, you won't regret it. Number 2, focus on impact, not making money. When I started my own business, the first idea that I started my business with was making impact. I used to be a closer. I used to be very successful with high ticket sales. I used to have months where I was making 30 to 40 grand a month. And then I started my own high ticket coaching company where people could learn to be a high ticket closer. And in the beginning, I really did this because I wanted to help people become free. I created a lifestyle for myself, which was based on freedom. I could go wherever I want. I didn't have a boss. I quit the 9 to 5. I stepped out of the matrix. And I wanted to give that to people as well. And that was the idea for a very long time. But then when I started making money and, I started kind of becoming more nonchalant with things. It became more about making money. Just what can I get from this? What can I get from this? How many more sales can I make, you know? And that impacted the whole company. It impacted the company culture, it impacted revenue, it impacted what kind of clients that we got. So, and it impacted myself personally as well, because if you're only doing things for money instead of like a deeper why behind everything, then it's going to be very unfulfilling, which is what happened to me. And I think that if you want to run a really good business, it shouldn't be about you, but it really should be about serving others, and that should always be the main focus. And I know a lot of guys, especially in the info space, it's very easy to get caught up in this, I need to make more money, because it is all about money, especially if you're in the make money online niche, for example. At a certain point, I felt like I wasn't good enough if I didn't make over 6 figures a month, you know, compared to like other guys in the industry, because it's all about showing off how much money you made, which is, you know, the entire business model, obviously. But it's also kind of empty, because there's always a bigger fish. And if you start living to just play a game where it's just all about making money, that's not going to end well. I can promise you that, because it's going to impact the quality of your service, the communication and the loyalty from your customers, and eventually at the end of the day, it's not going to help you. It might give you short-term gain, but it's not going to help you for long-term existence. All right, number 3, something that I had a lot of trouble with. When you start making a lot of money, try not to act cool, even though it is very hard. When you start making a lot of money, it's very easy to start buying new things and to start showing off on Instagram and all this kind of stuff. And it's very easy to buy designer clothes and talk about, you know, certain things that you've accomplished. And money in a lot of ways changes people. What happened to me was also that when I started making money, I also started living a more lavish lifestyle, and I started feeling better than other people as well, which is not something I'm really proud of. But hey, I'm all about the truth, so that was the truth, you know. I truly thought I was better than someone because I was making more money. Now thinking back at that is like such an insecure fucking character trait. But I also, when I started making a lot of money, started buying more stuff, started doing more things, you know, I started pretending like I was better, started pretending like I was cool. So I guess the lesson here is just stay humble even when you start making a lot of money. I'm not saying that you can't have nice things. If you want to buy a nice watch, buy a nice watch. If you want to buy a nice car, buy a nice car, right? But stay true to who you are, stay true to yourself, and be humble. Like, you're not necessarily better than anyone else. You can perform better, right? And you can hold different values which you deem better. You have to stay very grounded when you start making money, and you have to try not to act cool. There's a lot of guys that I know who made a lot of fucking money, and in the act of acting cool and showing off, you know, ego played parts, pride played parts, and if you have ego and pride and you combine it together, you do that for a long enough time, it blinds you for the things that you really are. It blinds you for your shortcomings. And your shortcomings, if you neglect those for too long, then eventually they'll add up, and bam, that's when things just come crashing down all at once. That's when you get hit in the face with something. And that's when there's 2 choices at that point. Either you see what happened and you change, which is not something that most people do. And then the second thing, and that's what most people do, is they neglect it kind of happen and they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's their life. Lesson number 4, and mistake number 4 that I didn't do, is build a personal brand. Build a brand about you, not about the things that you have. Especially now, when I started out with the sales coaching, the high ticket closing offer, it was a different kind of market. Like you could make a lot of money with just stories and just, it didn't have to be that personal because it was kind of new. But now we live in an age where you have to, like, people buy from people. Like if you have, let's just say that there is a coaching offer for sales training for high ticket closers. There's like hundreds, thousands of guys that do that. So, and everyone offers the same thing. Everyone offers coaching plus, you know, a course and placement or whatever it is. So based on delivery or fulfillment, you're never going to win. So people buy from people. And what I did, I built a brand around the things that I had, not about who I was. And I would 100% guarantee is one of the biggest mistakes that I made, and I can see the difference now because now I'm building a brand based on who I am, what I value, what I stand for, what I'm against, where I'm going, you know, what I'm building in public, I'm building in truth, and it's attracting way more interesting people into my life. It's attracting the people that I want to work with. It's attracting the exact type of people that are willing to pay for certain services that I can offer, because of who I am, not because of what I have. And I think as an entrepreneur, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made, because I built that brand around what I have. And if you build a brand around things that you have, cars, watches, it's all external, you're going to attract certain clients that you probably do not want to work with, right? So I would highly, highly, highly recommend, and we're tapping into this later in the list as well, there's a very important lesson, but to just build a brand about who you are, make it personal, and you will see the change in the amount of clients that you get, the results that those clients will make, and the people that will just naturally come to you because of who you are. It's very, very fulfilling. Number 5, probably my biggest mistake, stay away from drugs and parties and people that do drugs and are in the party scene. I'm not saying you should never go to a party. I don't say that you shouldn't do those things. I did those things a lot. I don't go out and party anymore. I'm just done with all of those things. It doesn't offer me anything. I don't value it anymore. I don't see it as fun anymore. I value my early mornings, but I cannot stress it enough, guys. Don't get into parties, don't get into drugs and all that kind of stuff. And it's a big fucking thing in the info space. I know a lot of guys in the info space, a lot of fucking people who make a lot of money, but who are without purpose, without meaning. And you seek distraction in other things when you do not have meaning or purpose, which is parties, alcohol, drugs. It fills you up, it gives you something for a while, right? But it destroys you, man. It fucking destroys you. It's bullshit. Like, really stop fucking doing it if you're doing it now, and never get into it. And if you have friends that do it, I'm gonna give you this right now, cut them the fuck out of your life. Do not hang with people that take drugs, that are into the party scene, that are like, oh man, but it was such a great night. Fuck those people. Leave them out of your life. I guarantee you, you're not missing out on anything, nothing. You have to be very strict with these kind of things. And if it means that you have to be lonely for a while, then be fucking lonely. I don't give a shit, man, because these people are not going to help you get forward in life. These people are not good to hang around with. They have their own struggles. They have their own problems, right? You don't want to be in that space. And it's one of the biggest mistakes I made. When I moved to Marbella, I got introduced to a lifestyle of parties and drugs and women, and it was amazing, you know, for a while. I thought I was like in a movie. It felt like, it felt unreal. And that's exactly what it was. It was unreal. It wasn't real. It was all fucking fake. It was all bullshit. It was all baloney. The fun that I had wasn't really fun. Because if you would have seen me sitting at some shady after party with people that I didn't really know, with some, you know, girls here and there and some music, you'd think to yourself, man, this is sad. Have some respect for yourself, man. So stay away from it. Don't do it. If you have people in your life that do it, and they invite you to certain things, don't do it. I know that some guys say, well, I'm good friends with these people, you know, and I go with them and I don't really do it. Fuck those people. Get them out of your life. Have some fucking respect for yourself. There's people out there that you can hang with that are so much more valuable to have in your life. The way that you find those people is by cutting out the others. And then you have so much self-respect for you. So stay alone for a while. I don't care. The right people will come into your life, all right? And it's worth it. Number 6 kind of follows up with that. Spend more time alone. I was always with people. I had a business partner. I was basically always with people. Like right now, the past 6 months, for example, I've spent a lot of time alone, and it's massively helped me just to figure out more about myself. It's made me so much more creative. It's given me so much more peace and fulfillment. And especially as young people, we have trouble with being alone because we have these things, so we're always on. Take some time to, you know, be alone. Go, if you have money, for example, go to fucking Italy for like, you know, a week and spend some time along the coast, drink some espressos, cappuccinos, have some fucking tiramisu, write down some ideas, write down some goals, do some introspective work. Is that how you say it? Introspective? Introspecting, right? It really helps you because it kind of keeps you grounded, it keeps you stable. Instead of always being on, always being with people, I would highly recommend you do that. Number 7, build yourself just as much as you build your business, or build yourself even more. One of the reasons why I became very successful was because I invested a lot in myself. And then I became very successful and then I thought I'd made it and I stopped investing in myself and I stopped learning and ego and pride took over. And the moment that you stop investing in yourself is the moment that you tell yourself like, I cannot grow, I had learned everything, I'm the best that I am right now. Which obviously is stupid because you can always learn, you can always grow. Your business is never going to exceed the level of your own personal growth, your own personal level, right? So if you want to grow your business, if you want to be a better leader, if you have people working for you or working with you, for example, the quality of your business is going to be tied to the quality of your own personal development. So I would always reckon, as a business owner, or maybe if you're like a closer in high ticket sales, or if you're a one man show, is build yourself like this and the business will always follow. Because when you build yourself like this, the people that you work with, you're going to be able to lead them better to the same level that you're at. Like, for example, if you have a team, your team is never going to exceed the level that you are at. So you always need to carry the team. You always need to be the visionary. You always need to invest in yourself and bring yourself further so that you can pull your team up. That is how it works. That's how you build a really big company. My mistake is that I didn't do that. And eventually I went like this, and I was here, and then it went like this, stagnant, and then eventually it dropped. And that's what kind of like caused my downfall as well, because I wasn't aware of the things that were happening. Number 8, especially for men, don't chase women. Do not chase women. Please do not chase women. I cannot stress this enough. I used to be part of a friend group where it was very normal to have, sex with loads of women, and you'd show each other, you're like, oh yeah, I'm with this girl. And it was all about women, and it's just boyish behavior, right? And I kind of grew out of that as well. I don't date a lot now, barely. I'm focused on myself, focused on building a business, focused on becoming the best version of myself. I don't want to fuck around anymore. But don't chase women. And I know that it's hard when you're a young guy, you've got money, you've got options, maybe you look good, you can take care of your physique. Especially then, it's very important that you I wouldn't say you cannot date, but just don't chase women. I know so many guys who have lost, so much confidence and self-respect because they were chasing women who were just using them for their money. I think that a lot of guys don't know themselves well enough to have a serious relationship, and besides that, just constantly chasing women, constantly having sex isn't good for you. And I can tell you from experience, it's just not fulfilling. It is childish, and it brings with it a hope of problems that you do not want. And it's not cool, right? I thought it was cool to have sex with loads of women. I thought it was cool to date a lot of women. I thought it made me someone, but it is not, man. It is not. And it's often a sign, guys that do that, it's often a sign that they can't be really by themselves. There's often some past traumas that are with that as well. Probably don't think that they're good enough. I'm not going to dive too deep into that as well, but there are some things in the past that you need to take care of, and it's the reason why a lot of guys do that. So again, this also kind of ties in to spend some more time alone, be a bit more focused on yourself. I'm not saying that you cannot date. Like, of course, do that. You're a human being, we're social animals, so do that, but don't chase women, all right? Build yourself, and the right woman will come into your life. Number 9, this is the most important one for me. Be yourself authentically. Drop the mask, stop the need for external validation, and just learn to love yourself. I know this might sound a bit spiritual and a bit, out there, but man, I lived a very long time for other people's opinions, for other people's validation. And when you do that, you step away from your own truth, and you basically betray your own truth. So what do I mean with your own truth is that you have to really understand who you are, what you value. You have to be able to say no to certain things, even if it means discomfort, even if it means maybe solitude for a while, even if it means that it can, rise up conflict for a little while, or confrontation. But you have to be your own man. And I used to seek out external validation every single fucking corner of my life, whether it be with women, with cars. I would be showing off, and I'd constantly need to prove myself because I didn't think I was good enough. And boy, this is a big thing in the info space with a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys have a lot of issues with external validation, and it's slowly but surely draining you from your creative genius, from everything that you can be. So what I found is when I dropped all of that stuff, first off, it's fucking liberating because you can just finally just fucking be yourself. The right people will come into your life, and the wrong people will stay away from you. And it will be very easy to kind of choose direction and where you want to go and who you want to be and who you want to be with, because you know yourself so well. So obviously there is a big part of it which is hard, because the whole info space is based upon externals. It's based upon what you have and how you can show off, right? How much money you make, what car you drive, what watch you have, what people you're with, if you're seen, if your Instagram is aesthetically pleasing, So everything in the whole info space is about external validation seeking behavior, if you ask me. And it's one of the things that I absolutely hate with the info space right now. And I was a part of it for a very long time. And it teaches you to place your value in what you have on the external and other people's opinions of you instead of yourself, which obviously doesn't really help you. And this ties into building a personal brand as well. Like, how can you build a personal brand if you're not authentically yourself? This is where so many guys in the info space have problems with, and just in general, like a lot of young men who are doing well, closers, marketeers, agencies, just young men in general, have a very hard time with just dropping the mask and being their authentic self. But the moment that you do it, the moment that you decide not to live for others and to decide to live for yourself, you gain a huge amount of self-respect, and it's a moment where your life starts to shift. For example, I know that there's probably a lot of guys that look at me, a lot of people that look at me, maybe even like my old friends who think like, oh, Jesse, you know, he's doing some crazy shit now and he's, you know, on a whole different thing. And I don't give a shit anymore. Like, I truly do not give a shit what you think about me, because I know who I am, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, and I find a lot of fucking peace and purpose and meaning in that. And at the same time, that has attracted so many more valuable connections to my life, valuable people into my life that resonate not with what I have, but with who I am. And the moment, I'll tell you this, it's so funny, because the moment that you stop living for others and you stop needing this external validation, you get some kind of magnetic energy which only gives you more respect. It actually gives you the thing that you think you're going to get when you have external validation seeking behavior. So it's the complete opposite. So but it's a mental, psychological shift that you have to make. So yeah, external validation seeking behavior, guys, it is a big thing. It comes from a lot of conclusions that you have about yourself, probably that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy. It's worth looking into that. There's a lot of childhood stuff there as well. But once you figure these things out, once you become aware of all of those things, you can kind of like shift your mindset into, like, I always call it internal authority instead of external validation seeking behavior. When you have internal authority, oh man, life is just so much more effortless and you grow so much faster. And then number 10, guys, probably one of my biggest mistakes too, is ask for help. Don't let pride get into the way. As entrepreneurs, high achievers, ambitious guys, driven, we always want to do things ourselves. And we don't know everything. And especially when we're young and we make some success and we're better than average, we start thinking that we know a lot, which again turns into this kind of pride thing. But there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Right now I'm asking for help in a lot of different places, and I get asked for help in a lot of different places as well. So if you notice that things are not going well, for example, so one of the things that I would have wished I did when I was in my negative spiral, for example, I was in this loop of just constantly breaking my own promises in the weekend, being a pretty disciplined entrepreneur Monday through Thursday, but then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just completely fuck off. And all the progress that I'd made kind of I flushed it down the toilet. And I knew that I was doing this, and I knew that it was a problem. And I wish that I'd ask help in that moment, you know, from someone, just telling them that this was happening, or telling them the struggles that I was facing, or just being honest with those kind of things. And I guess that's the root of it, right? It's just honesty. You've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be aware of the things that are happening in your life. And you've got to just honestly look at yourself and think, is this something that I can solve myself, or do I need help with this? And there's no shame in asking help, because it will help you. You can ask people for help and they can give you a certain perspective that gives you a new outlook on life, and that gives you new options and new things to choose from, because you look through life with your own lens and it's giving you a set amount of options. But once you basically step into another point of view from someone else, you see a lot of different options, a little different choices, and different choices lead to a different life, different outcomes, right? Different and new neural pathways that eventually change your identity. So guys, these are my top 10 lessons. These are the things that I wished I'd done when I was in my rise as an entrepreneur in the info space, and I hope that this helps. I hope that you resonate with this. If you're a guy, if you're a high achiever, if you're in the info space, or you're an entrepreneur, for example, and you want to work on yourself, you want to learn more about how to become the best version of yourself, how to stop certain behaviors, how to deal with insecurities or things that are holding you back, definitely send me a message on Instagram. My DMs are always open. I'd love to hear your story, and I'd love to help you out. So this is it for this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.